You're thinking about using Conny to lower your rent, but you're just not sure how the process works in detail? Let's go over some of the most common questions together. The first question is from Johnny2531, and Johnny asks, Conny can lower my rent? How is that even possible? In Germany and in Berlin, there's a law called Mietpreisbremse, which literally translates to rent price brake. So something like hitting the brakes on rents, I think you can say. And this law, Mietpreisbremse, regulates what a landlord can actually charge for a flat that he or she is renting out. The problem with this law, however, is that not many people know about this, and tenants need to take action themselves. That means if a landlord violates this law in the first place, there's no penalty for the landlord. The only thing he might eventually have to do is lower the rent once a tenant actually enforces the law. And this is where Conny comes in. So we estimate that in Berlin, 3 out of 4 rental contracts are actually illegal. That means landlords charge rent that's higher than the legally permissible amount. And this is what we've been doing for the last 8 years. We've been going after landlords, we've been enforcing rent control, and we've been lowering rents for Berlin tenants ever since. Next question, how does the process with Conny work? You hire Conny, you send us your rental agreement, and our legal experts take a first look at the rental agreement, and they will determine whether rent control, whether Mietpreisbremse actually applies in your case. If the answer is yes, we'll reach out to your landlord and negotiate a lower rent for you. If the answer is no, we'll reach out to you and tell you, you know what, we're sorry, we've ran out checks, but seems it doesn't apply to you. And sometimes we might come back with questions to you. Now, say rent control does apply in your case, we talk to the lawyer, send them a letter basically demanding that they lower your rent. In most of the cases, we reach a so-called out-of-court settlement. That means there's a bit of back and forth negotiation, and the landlords relatively quickly agree to a lower rent for you. In some cases, however, we do have to go to court. Now, if we have to go to court, we win something in the ballpark of 95% of our cases there, because we only do go to court if we're actually very certain about this. The whole process takes something between a couple of months to maybe a bit over a year. That really depends on whether we can reach an out-of-court settlement or we have to go to court. If we get an out-of-court settlement, we're talking about a few months here. If we have to go to court eventually, this process and the timing of the process really isn't in our hands any longer. It's with the German justice system, and this might take a bit longer. However, we do everything in our power, of course. We have aligned interests here to increase the speed of the process and get you the settlement, or basically the settlement or the judgment from the courts as quickly as possible. And could the relationship with my landlord change if I engage Conny? Landlords know they're violating the law, right? It's their day-to-day business. They know the law exists, and they basically disregard it because it makes economic sense for them. They try to get away with it, and in most cases, they do get away with it. And if they actually get caught, they would have to lower the rent, only in those cases, of course, where they get caught. So we usually differentiate in this case between large companies and private people renting out 1 or 2 apartments maybe. So large companies, they really are super rational about it, right? If they get caught, usually it's a relatively quick but bureaucratic process they have with us. We know most of the folks at the large companies, and it's a bit of negotiations, and then usually we can reach a quick settlement. Interestingly, the people we talk to at the big companies, they're actually not the people who talk to the tenants themselves. It's a specialized department, oftentimes claim management or whatever it's called, at the companies. Now, if it's a private person, on the other hand, that's renting out the apartment, then the reactions, they differ, right? So some people are also more like the companies. They're rational about it. They've done it a couple of times. They know already the drill. They might have had cases with Conny already before, and some people get a bit annoyed, right? Of course, it's kind of taking money out of their pockets, putting it back into your pockets where it actually belongs. and it's hitting them economically. Now, that being said, yeah, there's a chance of your landlord, not greeting you when you see them in the hallway any longer. But I think you would have to ask yourself the question: is that worth a couple of €1,000 to you every year, right? Or maybe actually your landlord overcharging you is the reason why he or she actually is so nice to you, right? Because they're maybe actually feeling guilty for not abiding by the law. So that's basically it. I think what's important to remember is you're on the right? You're enforcing the law. You're enforcing a law that's been on the books for 10 years, and your landlord is not playing by the rules. So anything you do, it's certainly your right. It's certainly your right, and you should not think too much about what the landlord's gonna do, because at the end of the day, they know the law, or more directly, it's their job to know the law because they're renting out apartments. And then there's a follow-up question to that one that says, can I lose my apartment because I invoke Mietpreisbremse and engage Conny? The simple answer is no, you cannot. No one can throw you out of your apartment. No one can terminate the contract because you enforce the right that the law gives to you. Generally speaking, as a tenant in Germany, you are protected by the law. That means it's very, very hard to terminate a contract. Forget about the big companies. They cannot terminate you at all for, invoking rent control. And even for the private landlords, it's extremely difficult. We've never really seen it in 8 years of Conny. And should there be any communication or threats from your landlord, we will hire a law firm and take care of it for you free of charge. The next question goes, so what's in it for Conny? How much does their services cost? Now, the Conny promise says that your landlord pays the bill. And here's how it works. Now, if we successfully lower your rent, you start saving money from the date of the agreement to lower your rent. So say you mandate us today and we lower your rent in July or something. That means you start paying less rent from August onwards. Now, if you think you're going to be living in the apartment for the next 5, 7, 10 years, you can easily calculate how much that's going to save you, right? Now, claims that might have arisen until July, until the date that we can lower your rent, they are then paid to Conny by your landlord, right? So from the time, or actually, rent that has been overpaid in the past by you goes to Conny, and you get the benefit for the future. Now, the benefit, of course, is the greater the longer you stay in the apartment. But this is basically how it works. Everything until the rent reduction goes to Conny as part of the commission, and everything from the rent reduction onwards goes to you as the savings that you realize. Now, that is if we are successful. Should we not be successful in your case, you don't owe us anything. The whole cost risk is on us. So even if we lose at court, we have to pay court fees, we have to pay the counterparties, so your landlord's lawyers, we have to pay our own lawyers, and so on and so forth. If we lose your case, you don't pay anything at all. So there's basically two alternatives, two things that can happen. Number one is we reduce your rent. That's great. You're happy because you save a lot of money in the future. Conny is happy because we get a commission. And the alternative B is, well, we can't lower your rent, then everything stays as is for you. Nothing changes. You continue paying your rent, and we just don't get any money from the case. Great. So I hope that we've covered most of the things that you wanted to learn about Conny. If you still have open questions or questions that are very specific to your situation, there's a link below that you can use to book a call with our rental experts. They are happy to assist you with whatever questions you have on the process, on Conny, or maybe on your rental contract in specific. Please do note, however, that the service is currently only available in Berlin. So yeah, if you have questions, if you're interested, reach out to us. And we're happy to start fighting for a low rent for you as well.